Located near the village of Xianbeikun in Zhejiang Province, China, lie the Longyou Caves, an extensive, magnificent and rare ancient underground world considered in China to be the ninth wonder of the ancient world. Thought to date back at least 2,000 years, the Longyou Caves, also known as the Shaonanhai Stone Chambers, represent one of the largest underground excavations of ancient times. They are an enduring mystery that has perplexed experts from every discipline that has examined them. Scientists from around the world in fields such as archaeology, architecture, engineering, and geology have absolutely no idea how the Longyou Caves were built, by whom, and why. First discovered in 1992 by a local villager who set out to drain some ponds believed to be bottomless, to date, 24 hand-carved caves have been discovered covering a massive area of 30,000 square meters. Carved into solid siltstone, each grotto descends around 30 meters underground and contains stone rooms, bridges, gutters, and pools. Within the Longyou Caves, pillars are evenly distributed throughout the caves which support the ceiling. The walls, ceiling, and stone columns are uniformly decorated with chisel marks in a series of parallel lines. Only one of the caves has been opened for tourism, selected because of the stone carvings found inside that depict a horse, fish, and bird. The Longyou Caves of Zhejiang Province truly remain an enigma, and here we will explore 10 enduring mysteries that remain unresolved, even after more than 2 decades of research. A rough estimation of the workload involved in building the Longyou Caves is awe-inspiring. The quantity of rock that would have been removed in the overall excavation of the grottos is estimated to be nearly 1 million cubic meters. Taking into account the average digging rate per day per person, scientists have calculated that it could take 1,000 people working day and night for 6 years to complete. These calculations are based purely on hard labor. But what they haven't taken into account is the incredible care and precision of the sculptors, meaning that the actual workload would far surpass the theoretical estimation. As for how they were constructed and what tools were used, it is still unknown. No tools have been found in the area, and scientists still do not know how they achieved such symmetry, precision, and similarity between the different caves. Despite their size and the effort involved in creating them, so far, no trace of their construction or even their existence has been located in archival sources. Although the overall excavation involved almost 1 million cubic meters of stone, there is no archaeological evidence revealing where that quantity of stone went, and no evidence of the work itself. On top of that, there is not a single historic document that refers to them, which is highly unusual considering the sheer scale of the project. The origin of the Longyou Caves is an utter mystery. Each of the Longyou Caves is covered from floor to ceiling in parallel lines that have been chiseled into virtually every surface. The effect is a uniform pattern throughout the caves, which would have required immense manpower and endless hours to create. The question remains, why? Was such labor-intensive work purely for decoration? Are the lines or patterns symbolic in some way? All that is currently known is that the markings are similar to those found on pottery housed in a nearby museum, which is dated between 500 and 800 BC. When the caves were first discovered, they were filled with water, which presumably had been there for a long time. They had to be pumped out in order to realize that these were not just like the other bottomless ponds found within the area, but rather man-made structures. Most villages in southern China contain very deep ponds, often referred to as bottomless ponds by generations of villagers. However, after the first cave was pumped dry, not a single fish was to be seen, nor any other sign of life. One of the most interesting and challenging questions is how the Longyou Caves have been able to maintain their structural integrity for more than 2,000 years. There are no signs of collapse, no piles of rubble, and no damage despite the fact that in some areas the walls are only 50 centimeters thick. Over the centuries, the area has endured numerous floods, calamities, and wars. The mountains have changed their appearance and exposed stones have been weathered, but inside the Longyou Caves, the form, patterns, and markings remain clear and precise, as though they were built yesterday. Due to the great depths of the caves, some areas at the bottom are pitch dark and are not exposed to the opening above. Yet, even those dark areas are decorated with thousands of parallel lines on the walls, columns, and ceilings. So, how did ancient people work in the dark? According to Jia Gang, a professor specializing in civil engineering at Tongji University, there should have been lamps because the cave's mouth is small and sunbeams could only penetrate the cave at specific angles during certain times. As one goes deeper into the cave, the light becomes dimmer. At the lowest depths, which are often dozens of meters from the mouth, it is nearly impossible to see anything. However, this was at least 2 millennia ago, and nothing that could have been used for lighting has ever been found. All of the Longyou Caves are distributed across an area of only 1 square kilometer. Considering such a high density, one cannot help but wonder whether some grottos were meant to be connected. What would be the purpose of making so many separate caves in such a tight area without connecting them? In many regions, the walls between the caves are very thin, merely 50 centimeters, but they were never linked, appearing to be intentionally kept apart. Furthermore, many of the Longyou Caves are almost identical to each other. Nobody has any idea who built the caves. Some scientists have claimed that it was not possible or logical for such a mammoth job to have been undertaken by regular village people. Only the emperor and the leaders could have organized such a huge project, similar to the construction of the Great Wall, which was built to defend against invasion. But if it was commissioned by an emperor, why are there no historical records of its construction? The scale of the Longyou Caves is magnificent and momentous. The design is delicate and scientific, and the construction was sophisticated. The precision is indicative of superior craftsmanship. Every cave is like a grand hall. One side is steep, while another side is inclined at 45 degrees. The 4 walls are straight, and the edges and corners are clearly demarcated. The chiseling marks within the Longyou Caves are uniform and precise. Despite the fact that at the bottom of each cave, the ancient builders wouldn't have been able to see what the others were doing in the adjacent grotto, the inside of each cave had to be parallel with that of the others. Otherwise, the wall would be holed through. This indicates that their measuring apparatus must have been very advanced. There must have been some layout regarding the sizes, locations, and distances between the caves beforehand. Following extensive investigations and studies, scientists and scholars have attempted to put forward explanations for the grottos, but none so far provide a convincing answer for why they were built and what they were used for. Some archaeologists have suggested that the grottos were the tombs of old emperors, halls for emperors, or places for storage. However, this interpretation is quite far-fetched. No funeral objects or tombs have been found, and no artifacts have been left behind. If it were used like an emperor's palace, the caves would surely have been designed differently, with separate rooms for entertaining, meetings, and sleeping. But no evidence can be found of this, and there are no traces of habitation. Another hypothesis is that the Longyou Caves were used for mining and extracting some type of mineral resource. However, mining operations would have required equipment and apparatus to extract rocks and transport them. Again, no traces of this have been found. If the caves were solely for mining, why create such intricate decorations on the walls, columns, and ceilings? Finally, some have suggested that these caves were intended as places for troops to be stationed, allowing an emperor to keep his soldiers hidden and thus maintain a level of secrecy regarding military preparations. However, these caves could not have been built in a short period. They would have required many years to construct, making it unlikely they were created in preparation for war, which typically arises much more quickly. Furthermore, there are no signs of people having stayed in the caves. Despite decades of research, very few answers have emerged to explain the enigma of the Longyou Caves. Our ancient ancestors have achieved many wondrous things throughout history, but this discovery from China remains a truly unsolved mystery that has yet to be cracked.